If you're considering learning Spanish, I definitely recommend watching this video first, just so you get a clearer idea of whether you actually have the time and also you have the passion and real intrigue into learning Spanish before you go ahead and commit a lot of time into the process of learning a language. So first of all, I just want to talk about my experience. I started learning Spanish at GCSE level. I had a really good teacher in year 10 and year 11 who sort of made me fall in love with Spanish and really enjoy the course. From there, I went on and did A level, finished my 2 years of A levels last year, and then I didn't reach fluency at the end of my A levels. I was at a good level, but I didn't reach fluency. And then during this gap year, I've sort of treated Spanish as a hobby to sort of get myself up to that next level of fluency. For me, I've absolutely loved learning Spanish. I've always had a real intrigue, a love for Hispanic culture. That was a main driver for me as to why I wanted to learn Spanish. And again, I wanted to go traveling this summer. I'm going to Peru and Colombia as well as Barcelona. Yeah, I think the fact that I've learned Spanish is just going to make those trips so much more enjoyable. So I'll genuinely be able to interact and have meaningful conversations with people from these countries, especially in parts of Colombia and Peru where the people may not be as good English speakers as maybe in Barcelona. And even if the people do speak good English, I think it's better to learn Spanish and interact with them in Spanish because it really shows that you have a real interest and intrigue in their culture and you've taken the time out of your life to learn the language to then be able to interact with them. And I think that's going to make your interaction so much better because it really shows your level of interest and love for Hispanic culture, and they'll pick up on that. And from there, you'll be able to have much better interactions and enjoy your holidays much more. And not only is learning Spanish great if you love Hispanic culture and you want to travel to these countries, it's also great just to have on your CV and add another string to your bow as another thing that employers are going to be impressed with. And just another cool thing to have as a person to be able to speak another language. And again, it is the second most spoken language in the world. So there's a lot of Spanish speakers, especially where I live in London. So it's great to be able to have a better relationship with people from Hispanic countries because I am able to actually interact with them in their language. And yeah, for me, I think learning Spanish was a no-brainer. And if these factors and reasons that I've just mentioned appeal to you as to why you should learn Spanish, then I definitely recommend doing it. However, I also want to make you aware of the time commitment that you're realistically going to need if you're willing to learn Spanish. And I think realistically, you're probably going to need about 6 hours a week of work. And when I say work, I break that down into active and passive learning. So active learning would be speaking or writing, and then passive learning would be listening or watching, reading. I realistically ideally aim for 2 hours of active learning because that's where the real learning happens. And I definitely recommend you try your best to make sure you get 2 hours a week done. And whether you do that when you have a free 2 hour block, maybe on a weekend on a Sunday evening, or whether you split it up into 30-minute chunks throughout the week. But I think the main thing is making sure that you're focusing on that active learning period. And then the passive learning, you can just sort of do in dribs and drabs throughout your day. Maybe you're commuting to and from work or to and from school or whatever else you're doing. I think there is when you can really ramp up the passive learning. I think 4 hours is a reasonable amount of time someone can dedicate to because you just take away that time they might be listening to music or scrolling on social media to then listen to podcasts in Spanish or watch Spanish YouTube that you enjoy or Spanish TV shows. And even if you are using social media, try and change your feed, change your TikTok feed so that you're reading and being more exposed to Spanish content and follow Spanish Instagram accounts and things of that nature that you just are ramping up that immersion and the amount of Spanish you're hearing on a day-to-day basis because that's just going to help you in the long run. And the more Spanish you listen to, just the more you're going to be able to build on it and keep improving with your Spanish. Yeah, realistically, I think 6 hours roughly of learning a week is what you're going to need to develop consistently enough to reach a level of fluency. And I think definitely 2 hours of active learning is ideal, and anything more is great. And then 4 hours of passive learning, I think, is realistic throughout your week. And yeah, the more the merrier, really, with the passive learning. And if you are thinking of going down a paid route, I'd recommend you book a free call with me and have a talk about how you might be able to fit into my one-to-one coaching program that will help accelerate your Spanish learning even faster. But if not, there's so many good free resources out there that you can use, and I'm definitely going to touch on some of those in future videos. So yeah, look out for that. I hope this video has helped you understand a little bit more about the learning process of Spanish and realistically whether you can actually put aside the time to learn the language and whether you have the real desire and motivation to want to learn it. Yeah, see you next time.